shake a tail fin. A bikini babe, catching a road wave. A big surprise, I'm gonna rise and flash my tooth cane. All the buff dudes, safe on the beach food. They're gonna need a bigger boat and barrels real soon. I'm a sea king, a CGI thing. I'm here to eat and bare my teeth and shake a tail fin. I'm only taking a ride. Lured in by your bucket of chum. It's one weakness I can't hide. Take me to your bucket of chum.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bucket of Chum, the Shark Movie Podcast. And this week we are joined by a very special guest. She is a former model, she is an author, you name it, she's doing it. I'm joined by Faith Roswell. Faith, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, how you doing? It's really good to be here.
Yeah, so you reached out because you have a book coming out, right?
I do, yeah. I wrote a book about the history of sea monsters in movies and didn't expect it to be picked up by the national UK bookstore. And so I'm still slightly reeling from that, but I guess I am now officially a shark nerd.
Yeah. You're officially a shark nerd and officially an author, which is just impressive. And like you said, the major book chain in the UK has picked the book up, which is available for pre-order as we're recording. This should be coming out the first week of June, so your book will have just come out, I think. So yeah, so everybody listening, be sure to check that out. I know I'm definitely looking forward to it. Because as everybody knows, I love sea monsters. It's kind of what we talk about a lot on here. So what made you want to write this book?
So one of my big obsessions in life, I've always been fascinated by sea monsters ever since I was a child. And then I saw Jaws probably at much, much too young an age. But I think that's like a lot of shark experts, shark scientists, shark movie enthusiasts, loads of people, you've probably heard that all the time before. I saw Jaws and then. But I'm actually originally from Scotland. I know I don't sound it, but I am. So I grew up from a lot of legends of the Loch Ness Monster and just this idea of things underneath swimming around this whole other world that we don't know about, that we're still even now discovering. And being massively into cryptids, I went, you know what, I need somewhere to put this knowledge, because there's only so many times I can say to my friends, I can elaborate, and that is a threat.
I mean, that makes sense. That's such a good idea. I love that. And you mentioned the Loch Ness Monster, and I just I think it was on your Instagram stories where you told a story about the Loch Ness Monster, which I didn't know about, which I'm actually surprised I didn't know this about. So could you just tell the people what I'm talking about? Because it is absolutely insane to me, and I love it.
Sure. So we had this naturalist called Sir Peter Scott, who was knighted. So, you know, he had the same level of gravitas that Sir David Attenborough has now. And this is like way back in, I think, the 70s. He was very, very well respected. He did his voiceover, he did presentation of documentaries. He was the expert of the age. And he had this quirk, which was that the Loch Ness Monster is real and exists, and this is a real creature, even though no one had really ever seen it. There'd been no proper reliable footage, but he decided he wanted to raise awareness, and he did something that no naturalist has ever done. He gave it a Latin name. Now that is honestly like giving the Mothman a Latin name and trying to stick it in journals. You just don't do it. And he did. And what he named her was Nessiterus rhombopteryx, and that literally translates as the Ness inhabitant with the diamond-shaped fin, because there was a picture that had this fin, and that does translate. But later, people rearranged the letters, and what they found was it spells Monster Hoax by Sir Peter S. Now, we don't know, maybe this could have been a monstrous coincidence and the poor man, you know, or he played the biggest prank on the natural world. But I mean, this man was walking around in T-shirts saying, I believe in the Loch Ness Monster. So he probably played us. But yeah, I love that.
That is such, like, British humor to me. Like, that is like the long con of British humor. Like, when I heard that, and I'm just like, yeah, that's amazing. I'm like, that's so good. I have to tell my girlfriend about that because some people know like she's from the UK as well, so I think she definitely appreciate that one.
Yeah. So my boyfriend's from the States. So, yeah. We've been swapping cryptids for 2 years.
Nice. That's awesome. Are there any like other authors or any other types of books that inspired you to write the book, or was it simply just an outlet, like you said, to like put all this knowledge down because you can only talk to your friends for so long?
When I was a child, I used to live in the local library, and so I would come back with just armfuls of whatever I was fascinated by at the time. I don't even know if they're around anymore because, now we've got Wikipedia. I was born in '87. I'm a right smack bang in the middle of millennials. So we used to have these things called the Dorling Kindersley encyclopedias, and you would have just these big thick books on anything from like forensics and Vikings and all these different things. And anything about sea monsters, anything about UFOs, crop circles, I would just lap up. So I thought I want to give someone else that feeling of discovering new movies, discovering facts about these things that wasn't just a list of this movie is good, this movie is better. I wanted to say, look, this movie is based on this cryptid and this thing really happened. And did you know about this shark? I wanted to give someone something a bit more.
Yeah, that's awesome because I know I'm an '88 baby, so definitely same millennial. Growing up like reading books like that, the UFOs and everything. Like I was big into that when I was in like the 6th grade, and I've never told this story on the podcast before because people probably think I'm insane. But I have seen now when I say UFO, I mean an unidentified flying object. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was an alien spacecraft. I wasn't inside, so. When I was in the 6th grade, so I was probably 12 years old, I was bringing in the garbage cans. Like, we lived out in the country, so behind us was just a field, a big empty field with some trees, and that was it. And I'm bringing in the garbage cans one day, and I noticed I can see my shadow, which was bizarre because it was probably about 7 o'clock at night and like March or something like that. And so here it's dark. Like, it's pretty dark out. The sun's not out. And so I look behind me, and in the field behind me, there was like a craft that made little to no noise whatsoever. And it hovered above a tree for 2 seconds. There were 3 bright lights on the front. They went bright for a second, and then it just shot off into the distance, like making a very low humming noise, and that was it.
Oh my God.
Now, to this day, I'm still like, wait, I actually saw that because a lot of people brushed off as like, oh, I was a very imaginative kid, and yeah, I had a big imagination as a kid, but I knew the difference between like real and not real. So I saw something. I don't know what it was. And now keep in mind to everybody listening, this was before like drones and whatnot. Whereas like a lot of days, probably a lot of sightings are going to be drone related, I imagine. But back then, that wasn't a thing. Like we didn't have drones like that flying around, or at least accessible. So I don't know what it was, but it was crazy.
That's insane. I love that though.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, yeah, I've always been into that kind of stuff.
It's like what happened to the Bermuda Triangle? There's all those memes. That Bermuda Triangle, I thought it would be far more of a threat than it really is.
Yeah, it's so true. Because yeah, I remember seeing like a stat, like the amount of ships that sink in that area are like, well, it's not that different from like other areas where ships sink and whatnot. And it's like also because like, yeah, the weather's really bad there. There's a lot of things. But again, there are also a lot of things unexplained, like that whole squadron of World War II planes that went missing over the Bermuda Triangle. That's pretty weird.
Even now, the Malaysian airline, I can't remember the name of the plane, but there's a documentary on Netflix, and that still blows my mind that even now you can lose a whole plane.
Yeah, you lose an entire plane, and then you can end up in a situation like No Way Up, which I covered on the podcast not too long ago, where the people are trapped in a plane underwater.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that movie, actually. I didn't think that was too bad. It was not super gory or anything, but I think if you have a fear of flying and a fear of sharks, that movie would, kind of get you.
I guess that's like a lot of things when you combine the fear of sharks with the fear of something else. I think that's why I love that kind of thing, because I guess part of what's so scary about sharks and water monsters is that you're combining this fear of deep water and of being eaten, which are all really, really natural human fears. But I think they're both still very inbuilt. Like, there's some things you get taught, like fear of spiders, but otherwise, there's a natural fear of you're swimming and you can't touch the bottom. So
Yeah, and I've seen videos of people like diving at night and whatnot, and they just look around and it's like pitch blackness, and I'm just like, no, nope, you could not
no,
pay me enough to do that. I would be willing to like go cage diving with a shark, like in a controlled environment in the daytime. I would be okay with that. I'd be open to it. Diving at night, absolutely not. No.
there's just even something about the shape that goes under you, even if it's not actually a shark and it's not going to hurt you. There's just something that absolutely makes you like it gives me goosebumps. Like, I mean, so my boyfriend's in San Diego, and we'd gone out in his family's, like, they've got a little fishing boat, and we went out tiny, just tiny little thing, like about the size of my room here. I live on a canal boat, so it's like this wide, but
Yeah.
there were sea lions and I was loving it. But as soon as they go in the water, I'm very, very aware that they are massive, and that if one of them wanted to sink the boat, it could, even though they have literally no interest in any of us. But that's still, my brain's just going, suddenly I feel very small.
Yeah. So I mean, you're such a fan of aquatic horror and whatnot. You actually live on a boat.
I do, yeah. I live on a canal boat.
Yeah, what's that like? I've seen various shows about like boat living and whatnot, and it seems like varied, but a lot of people seem to enjoy it for like what it is.
Yeah, there's a few things that you need to get used to, like, you live in a house and you turn on the tap and you just know water's going to come out even if you accidentally leave it on all day. Where the boat, you have to fill your water tank, you have to know where your electricity's coming from, things like that. So that takes a bit of getting used to. I'm quite used to small spaces and living in, like, I'd love to have a tiny home maybe one day. So for me, the actual size of the place is perfectly fine for me. But yeah, much better in spring and autumn than summer. In summer, you're basically living in a giant tin pan, and ouch.
Yeah.
But it's now how I measure things. When people talk about, oh my god, the shark was so and so amount of feet, and I'm going, that's 1.5 boats.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we would like to live in a tiny home too, but unfortunately there's like regulations in the area that don't really allow it. So, which is unfortunate because it's like the only way to afford a home nowadays, probably anywhere. But
Yeah, they keep having these big discussions in the UK about having these tiny home communities, and they want to build them up and they want to make these little communities for people. And so far, land's just so expensive because tiny islands, then nothing's really come about. But I've bookmarked literally everything I can find, and maybe one day. But for now, yeah, I love living on the water. There's a lot of water life. We've got a local otter, which is very nice,
oh,
and he's
nice.
not afraid of anything. Yeah, so I've seen him fairly close up. It's nesting season right now, so the biggest, scariest thing in the marina is Canada geese, but, which you know all about.
Oh, yeah, we call them cobra chickens.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because, anybody listening who hasn't had an encounter with the Canadian geese, they are just a whole other breed on their own. Now, some people listening know I'm not a big fan of birds. I've been attacked by birds in the past, so me and birds just don't get along to begin with. But Canada geese are, like, on a whole other level. Like, I've seen a video of soldiers walking in formation, but then they'll break formation to walk around a bunch of Canadian geese because it's just like it's not worth the fight, you know.
What is it? Is it The Exorcist? What is it? I'm thinking, like, when I'm walking down the path, and if they're nesting, it's a bit of a gauntlet. Take the backpack off, walk with it, and you're like, don't look at me. The power of Christ compels an six of it. Does it? Does it really? Does it?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's from The Exorcist, but that is what it is like.
It's exactly what it's like. I think people don't. I think a lot of people underestimate like just how crazy Canadian geese are because they haven't experienced it, and like even the few videos you see doesn't give you a full sense of what it is. My ex-girlfriend, when she was in university, a couple of them took videos of people walking down a path, and like Canada geese was just chasing them out of this one area of the path. I don't know if they were nesting or if they were just being a Canada goose because that's kind of just what they do. So. Yeah, they are absolutely wild. Talk about monsters. Talk about Canada geese.
I'm amazed no one's actually tried to make some kind of video of that, because
Yeah, I would watch a movie about that, and I'd believe it. You could tell me it's a documentary, and I'd believe it. So we're also going to talk today about two very different shark movies, but also good examples of two movies that I consider good, but are on very different ends of the spectrum. So like we have like Hollywood, like fairly big budget production, and then we have a movie that was done for about like $6,500. I assume U.S. dollars. So the first one is Bad CGI Sharks from 2019, directed by Majama, which I'm assuming is a false name or stage name, but I don't know, but I'm just guessing. But this movie is insane.
it's the first names of the three directors.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't even know that. And I actually have this on a double DVD with House Shark. So I've been watching this for a while.
Love that.
But yeah, this was one of the movies you wanted to talk about, and I thought it was a good contrast to the other movie we're going to be talking about, which is Shark Night 3D from 2011. And like I said, this movie was done for like $6,000, yet it is somehow one of the more effective shark movies I have ever seen. Like, not just a shark movie, but like comedy as well. Like, they did a great job mixing these two things together.
Yeah, I felt like, so I'm just getting my notes up because they've decided to take it off YouTube at the moment, which was really, really infuriating, because for a while it was free on YouTube, and that's kind of how I discovered it, because I think I was actually researching my book at the time, and I literally Googled Bad CGI Sharks, and what I found was this film called Bad CGI Sharks, and that was it, Popcorn Expedition, right? And I actually really appreciated like taking it very seriously for a second. I actually really appreciated what the directors were saying, which was that they don't have the budget to make a good shark movie, so they have to make it character driven. So if they put all their time and effort into making the characters believable and funny and someone you're actually interested in, then it doesn't matter how bad the sharks are, because you care about the characters.
And I think that works really well, too, because I'm pretty sure the two actors playing brothers are actually brothers in real life, and
Yes.
they're the writers. So, like, they already have that relationship. So that helps the movie so much. I think if you just put two other actors who didn't have that much chemistry, this movie wouldn't play off the same.
No, I think that it's that feeling of they know each other so well that probably half of the jokes and the in-jokes and what they're saying to each other are probably things they've said to each other growing up 100 times before. And I'm wondering, partly, like, I don't know these guys, in person, but I do wonder how much is actually based on like a caricature of who they really are. Like, there's got to be a story behind that. The man bun. One of the characters has the most massive. My hair's down to here and I can't even do it. But he walks around looking like this.
Except it looks like a dick. Like, it has like the two balls on it and the shaft going down to the head. And there's even a point where, like, at the beginning of the movie, the homeless guy comments and he's like, "Yeah, nice dick head."
Yeah, that has to have some kind of real life story behind it. I refuse to believe that wasn't strategically put in there for someone is laughing at the other one yeah.
Yeah, I feel like one of them actually had, like, probably that brother had this experience, and like he just had to put it in the movie, or it was like a family member that said it to him, so like he needed to put a nod to it. I like to believe that too, because there's just no way. Like, it's just too good.
I go out wearing something stupid at 8 years old, my sister's still talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It never goes away, especially with family.
Yeah, remember that time when you did that really stupid thing? No, I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, your family is like a physical extension of like anxiety. So like the shit that you don't remember, your anxiety remembers, or your family will remember just to help you along the way.
Yes, I thought I loved that was just a funny touch. And also, just no one has done something that's not only like really meta and really self-deprecating, but actually I felt made it work in that way. We've all seen films with stupid sharks, we've all seen films with bad CGI, and they're making fun of it, but this is different. And I think that to find an original concept for a shark movie these days is an achievement.
It is, and I mean, there's so many like variations. Like when I tell people the titles of some of the movies I've seen or covered, like I'll just come out and say something like, "Oh, post-apocalyptic shark commando," and they're just like, "Can you say that at least 2 more times so I can like grasp what just happened in my ears?" Like, and this is one of those ones where like you said, like it's bad CGI sharks. It's literally taking the entire genre of like what sharksploitation has become, and it's more of like a love letter to it in a way too, which I really enjoy. And like you can tell like there's a lot of passion behind this film, and I've talked about that recently. I just did a mini review for a movie called Older Gods, which I was sent a screener for, and like the filmmakers and the crew had a big passion for it because they filmed it during the pandemic and whatnot. And also a more Hollywood example is Monkey Man by Dev Patel, which just came out. He ran out of money. He had
I haven't seen that one.
Monkey Man. Yeah, it just came out. It was supposed to go to Netflix, but then Jordan Peele's production company picked it up and gave it like a small theatrical release. So it's like just starting to trickle down onto like video on demand and whatnot. But it's a lot of people are comparing it to John Wick because it has a lot of like intense action sequences, but it is very much not John Wick. It is so much more character and story driven. It was insane. I was not expecting to have like an emotional connection with this movie, and I'm like, wow, like he took an action movie, and I think it's because he cared about it. And it's the same thing about this movie. If they didn't care about it as much, I probably wouldn't care about it as much.
Yeah, because that's about like part of the whole plot of the film, isn't it? Like that one brother reminds the other one that they wrote this terrible shark movie together as young men, and he's almost like he's come back, the equivalent of we're getting the band back together. He's come back to make this movie happen.
It's almost like he's putting a heist together. His brother's like, "You son of a bitch, I'm in."
Yeah.
I also like some of the posters they have because one of the brothers works in like a production office that makes terrible shark movies, and one of the posters in the background of one scene is Shark Rapist 2, Blue Balls or something like that. And it's literally just the title and then like a bikini in the water, and that's it. Like I don't even know if they fully address like the title of the movie or whatnot, but I just remember seeing that poster and I'm just like, wow, that's one that hasn't been made yet. I'll give them that.
Yeah, like it's the ultimate piss take. Can I say piss on here? Can I say?
Oh, you can say
Yeah.
anything and everything you want.
Hey, fucking
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that, and I think that nod to like they haven't gone that far yet, but oh my god, you just know someone would go there.
Oh, someone's going there for sure. Like, if we don't see it in the next 10 years, I will be honestly shocked. Considering somebody's already done a movie called Dick Shark, it's only a matter of time.
I'm amazed I haven't heard of that one, but I'm not amazed that it exists.
So
Dick
this
Shark.
Dick Shark, yeah, it's done by, I think his name, I'm going to look it up because I know he's a filmmaker that's done like a lot of terrible movies that he's like well known for. It might be Neil Breen, but I'm going to double check that because I don't want to piss anybody off getting Dick Shark wrong. And what I know, oh no, it's not. So it's a different filmmaker. I'm glad I looked this up because as soon as I saw his name, I'm like, oh, right, I've seen your movies before. So his name is Bill Zabub.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm glad you got it. So yeah, those of you who don't, I'm pretty sure that's the demon name from The Exorcist, or it's the name of a demon. So, but yeah, he's split it into two, so that's his name. And he has done just, I don't even know how to describe his movies. It's like softcore porn, but you feel very uncomfortable watching it, and you almost feel like maybe you shouldn't be watching it, and like, is he allowed to make these movies? It kind of, I don't know. I find them really uncomfortable and a little bit weird. And like Dick Shark is, I just looked at the runtime. It's 3 hours and 20 minutes long. I don't know if I could cover that. That is too long for me, man.
I'm not even sure I could sit through that. I mean, I will sit through some absolute howling terrible, dreadful films, but it's very rare that I've found the remote control and just gone, oh my God, it's like discovering fire again. It's like you remember, I can turn this off. I don't have to watch this.
Yeah.
I think the last time I did that was actually Brokeback Mountain. There's only so many longing gazes two men can do at each other, cut with rolling hills of wherever they were, before I can just go, you know what? I think you've looked at each other enough, and the hills have rolled enough, and the cows have been herded enough. Okay, I'm turning off now. Goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those movies I feel like you had to have seen like when it came out, because like, you know, like having two gay characters in a movie was not a thing back then. So like it didn't really matter how they made that movie. It's just kind of important that it got made. But now when you compare it to other movies nowadays, like there's so many stories that are similar but told in a much better way. But I think it's an important movie. But like you said, there's too many longing shots, and like I can only look at the scenery for so long, as gorgeous as it is. But it's like we have other things to do here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it for what it was, but yeah, I did watch it fairly late. I was fairly late, and I thought, oh, this is a very acclaimed film. Okay, I will sit down and watch it, and just went, no.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
haven't yet done. No, wait, I'll tell a lie. I have turned off a shark movie. I was going to say I didn't think I had. I have. Shark Huntress. I turned off Shark Huntress.
So for those of you listening, that episode, as we're recording, just came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I wish I turned that movie off. Speaking of Shark Huntress, embarrassingly enough, I was on my Facebook the other day, and the lead actress commented on the photo promoting my episode on Shark Huntress. And I was like, oh, I was not nice about that movie in that episode. I hope I was nice about her, because I said, like, I thought her acting was fine. Like, I didn't blame anything on her. So I was at least nice about that, but I was not nice about that movie.
No, I remember I listened to that episode because I thought that was the one thing I actually did turn off. I thought, yeah, I've got to hear it. Yeah. I think I might have commented saying that it was the worst thing I've ever seen. And
it's bad. There's no, like, okay, so if anybody hasn't listened to the episode or hasn't seen the movie, give you a brief rundown. When you hear a title like Shark Huntress, you're expecting a huntress of sharks, if you will. That doesn't happen in the movie whatsoever. The shark in the movie doesn't actually die. It's just left alive. We don't resolve that issue whatsoever. This whole movie, they're like, we gotta kill this shark, it's dangerous, we gotta kill this shark. And then they don't kill the shark. They kill a dude who's bad, which I'm like, okay, cool. But like, you still have a shark in the water that's killing random people. Maybe we could do something about that.
Yeah, it was, I don't think I even got that far. I really don't.
I don't blame you. This episode's coming out in June. I'm also doing, next week will be an episode of C6 Cinema that I did with the Evil Deaths podcast, where we talked about 90210 Shark Attack, which is another awful, awful movie. But I would probably rewatch more than Shark Huntress, I would say. If like, gun to my head, somebody's like, you have to watch one of these two movies, I guess I would pick 90210 Shark Attack, I guess.
That's the other. There's Shark and Sar Women's Prison Massacre, which I've not seen in a while, but I swear I started watching that and need to finish it. But yeah, that was. I'm fairly certain it involved swamps.
Yes, I was.
Shark and Sar.
Yeah, I was just on Dissect That Film podcast, and they were talking about that movie because they had covered it years ago or something like that. It's one I haven't covered yet. I think I have seen it. I mentioned a buddy of mine, Artie's Angels. He's a patron of mine. We get together and watch some of these terrible movies together sometimes, and yeah, that was one of them that we watched. I think we enjoyed it for the most part. I think that's the one with Christy Swanson, I think, who was the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's also a good time. But yeah, Bad CGI Sharks, I don't know how much I can say about it. As of right now, the Blu-ray from SRS Cinema is going out of print. So if anybody can pick this movie up and you can afford it, I highly recommend it. It is just a blast. It is so much fun. And like, it is a bad movie, because I don't want to like get people's expectations up where it's like a good movie, but it's also not a bad movie. Like, I don't know how to explain it in a way to make people actually want to watch this, because it's bizarre. I will say that. I could almost say it's like the scary movie of shark movies in a sense.
Yeah, think like someone walking down the street, terrible CGI shark following behind him and pausing to buffer before he picks up his phone and tries to do a Snapchat filter. And not only does he get the little puppy ears and the flower headbands, but so does the shark. Like, that level of self-deprecating ridiculousness.
Oh god, it's so good.
Oh, there's someone that makes music videos based on shark movies. Yeah, and he did the song's called Higher, the band's called Dark Signal, and this person edited clips together to this song. And if you watch that music video, it'll give you a good idea of what the film looks like.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that. I do think I've seen his channel pop up before. I don't think I've actually sat down and watched anything yet, just because of time and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And I do have a couple of shots. If you're watching this on YouTube or Patreon, in my intro video, there are a couple of clips from Bad CGI Sharks in there. Even though I haven't like fully covered the movie yet, I'm such a big fan of it. I'm like, I have to include it in this opening credits scene. And like, yeah, one of the best, like you said, one of the best gags is the buffering shark. Because like the guy is just walking, minding his own business, and then like the shark keeps trying to attack him from behind, but each time it gets close to him, it stops, and you hear that noise from like a Windows or a Mac computer when something goes wrong, and then you get like the wheel of death, and then it like resets back to the beginning, it builds back up and stops, so it's like it's buffering. Yeah, so it's like you're literally watching a CGI scene being made.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene absolutely killed me.
It's so good. I think that was one of the ones that got my friend and I too. And also the other scene where the like movie professor dude. So for anybody listening, like throughout the whole movie, the like director of this movie, he's kind of like for all the Marvel fans out there, he's like the watcher of this bad CGI shark movie, except he interferes and he tells our main characters like what they're doing, that they're in a movie and whatnot. And so the three of them are running from one of like the better looking CGI sharks, and they try to climb over a wall, and this professor dude just shakes his head and then walks 10 feet and then goes around the wall instead of trying to climb over it, which got me because that literally happened to my friend and I, Benji, a buddy of mine from Toronto, one night high and drunk coming back from like the convenience store. We decided to go in this under, it went under the road, like, oh my God. I can't even think of the word right now. Those metal pipes that go under the roads, like a culvert. So we went in one of those, and then we came out the other side, and there was a fence there. We're like, oh, crap. So, like, we climbed over the fence, like, got our feet all wet. And then after we both got on the other side, we looked, it could not have been more than 5 feet to the right of us. And like the fence ended. Like we could have just like at least held on to the fence and then walked around. So like that literally happened to me. And I'm like, I'm laughing at these guys for being stupid, and I've done this myself.
All hail the drunk escapades.
Yeah, we were in college, so that was just one of many drunk escapades. But yeah, that's just that scene. The fact that that scene's in the movie and I actually lived it is so good. And unfortunately, I don't think these guys have directed or written, at least the writers, they haven't done anything else other than this movie.
Not as far as I know.
Which is unfortunate, because I would like to see, if it's not a sequel to this, even if they're just playing different characters in another movie together, even if it's not even if they still act the same way they do in this movie, but playing different characters, I would totally accept that, and I would honestly love it.
Me too. I did see, when I was having a quick Google, I did see something saying bad CGI croc, and I'm hoping, I'd rather it be the same guys than someone trying to like rip them off, you know? I'm really praying that it's an effort from the same guys.
So there was a movie called Bad CGI Gator, which just came out this year.
That's the one, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's only an hour. It's not them at all.
Crap.
Yeah, so Oh, it's from Full Moon Features. That makes a lot more sense now. So they're just trying to rip off something that was better.
Okay. Like, you can't say, "Oh, I expected more from a film called Bad CGI Gators" without sounding like an idiot.
Yeah. The only thing that I would imagine, now I haven't seen this movie yet. I am going to watch it at some point, obviously, because just morbid curiosity. But I feel like this isn't going to have the same passion behind it that like Bad CGI Sharks did. So I
Yeah.
think like for this movie, like they're missing the mark on that, and it's just kind of taking that title. Again, I'm sure it might be a very fun movie, but it's not going to be the same caliber as Bad CGI Sharks. I'm just surprised that they went with Bad CGI Gator because like there's not really that many. I don't view like gators as like that big of a movie monster. There's definitely movies out there, but I know they're not as popular in comparison to like some other things. I found that a little bit weird too. But I guess again, it's Full Moon. That's just kind of what they do.
They had their year. There's this is facts that come into my head from my book now. I think there were 5 Gator movies that came out in 2017 alone.
Oh wow.
And some of them were pretty good. And I think the most recent one was actually Crawl, which wasn't too bad. But yeah, there were a couple that were Australian made, and the director was saying like, we have kind of a monopoly on things that want to kill you. Why is our film industry not picking up on this? And so they made like 2 or 3, I think, Australian made Gator movies.
Oh, that's pretty
Yeah.
impressive, and that also makes a lot of sense of the fact it's Australian because, yeah, like you said, everything in that country is going to kill you. um, which is one of the reasons I'm only hesitant to visit because it's also like a 15-hour flight from here. So I'm like, I don't know if I've never been on a plane before, so I'm gonna like go somewhere else first before I take a 15-hour flight somewhere.
Oh my God. Do you want to go on a plane, or are you scared of flying?
Oh, I honestly just haven't had the opportunity yet. Hopefully once everything's settled down here within like the next year or two, we'll definitely be going to the UK. That's one of the first places I want to go. Scotland is one of the places I absolutely want to go. Because I think a lot of my like heritage is Scottish, like a lot of my background, I think.
Really?
So it's definitely someplace I want to visit. And my girlfriend was talking. I can't remember the name. There's like this big hill that you climb.
Since I'm
Um,
and of course, because you've just said it and the name evacuates my brain. Arthur's Seat. Arthur's Seat, I think.
oh, okay, yeah.
If it's Edinburgh overlooking it, it probably overlooks Balmoral. I think it's Arthur's Seat. My brain's hang on, my brain's itching now. I have to check it out. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the places I want to go for
Oh my
sure.
God! Well, if you're both in England, hit me up and I'll totally tour guide you around London.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, it'd be such a good time.
No, I'm because I'm backwards and forwards between here and San Diego a lot. Then I've been flying a lot more than even I used to do flying a lot when I was modelling because I was backwards and forwards into Europe. But now I didn't expect to be toing and froing from the States quite as much as I am. But you know, I like it there. I love the wildlife. I love the just the complete polar opposite scenery. So I don't mind it so much, and I quite like flying. I get the chance to see films that I haven't normally had a chance to.
Oh, true too. Yeah, and I mean the weather must be so much nicer too.
I don't do heat very well, so most of the time,
That's fair.
yeah, we've kind of got an agreement that we don't go to each other's country in the summer because we're just horrible people. So, yeah, I think I've been trying to stick to like autumn and spring. I did 3 months there. I flew out at the end of December and I came back at the end of March, and that was really lovely. Even though it rained a lot more than I expected it to, we still got to see like desert flowers and wildlife and things, and that was so appreciated that. Have not yet seen a raccoon, and I'm really sad about it.
Oh, I saw a couple raccoons the other night, and they were fighting a squirrel in a tree.
What? Huh.
Yeah, I was walking the dogs, and I look up because I hear this commotion, and then the dogs look up, and I'm like, that's something I've never seen before.
Yeah, I did not know they did that. I mean, we've got loads of grey squirrels around the UK. That's just a whole thing. But did not know raccoons fought squirrels. That's something new every day.
Yeah, I think maybe it was trying to get into the squirrel's nest for food, maybe. I assume it was over food. The way they were arguing, it had to have been over food.
Sure, yeah. Well, it's not going to be over a girl unless one of them is seriously delusional.
Yeah.
Little trash pandas.
Yeah, I love that name for them because it's so accurate. Like, and they are crafty too. Like, I've seen videos of them like using their little hands to like pry open like garbage cans that people have tried to like put like crafty locks on to keep them out of it, and they're like, done.
My favourite viral video is always going to be the squirrel trying to get up the pole and the person just covered it in Vaseline and the squirrel just keeps going, meow.
Yeah. That's so good. Keeping it from like the bird feeder or whatever.
Yeah. And it's just their commentary because you can hear them absolutely pissing themselves in the background.
Yeah. It's so good. So the other movie we're also going to talk about is Shark Night 3D from 2011. So anybody, alive around that time remembers the 3D craze was pretty big. There were a lot of movies coming out. Also, I think around the same time, we also got Bait 3D from Australia, which is another great movie too. I talked about that on the Creepy Crap podcast. And I think this movie actually ends the same as Bait 3D with like a gratuitous 3D shark coming out of the water shot. Like, it's exactly the same. And I'm like, I guess if it's a 3D movie, you have to end your shark movie that way, I guess. But
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, it's such a good movie.
Yeah. I think there's only so many times you can try and recreate Jaws, and it's always the same plot. You've always got a washed-up shark or sea lion or orca trainer person, and they're scared of the water because their dad got eaten by a shark, and then they've got to save someone they love. And there's only so many times you can do that, or you end up with just absolute stupidity. But when you've got stupidity that's actually done with fairly convincing sharks, it's like you just want to watch something where the bad guys get it in the neck and the good guys are silly in a way that just makes you laugh. It's entertaining, not like, oh my god, really, they're doing that thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is purely a popcorn movie, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, this is the kind of like weird stuff I like to see with my shark movies, because like you said, there's only so many times we can do the movie where the guy tells the mayor about the shark, and then the mayor is like, oh, well, I don't want to close the beaches because money, because that's all. It's the same argument every movie. Oh, because of the local economy, because of the money. And I'm like, listen, I know that's realistic even to today. I'm just like, I actually believe this would happen. But we don't need to see it in every single movie since 1975. we can mix it up a little bit, and this movie does that. So for those of you that don't know, I was going to read the plot synopsis. The plot synopsis doesn't really tell us what it's about, but basically these college kids are at a lake in, I don't even know what state they're in. I want to say it's like Louisiana or something like that.
Louisiana. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say because it's like very swampy, so I just assumed Louisiana. So yeah, they're in Louisiana, and they're all at a lake house that is owned by this girl's parents, and she has like kind of this mysterious past that we'll learn about later. And as they're vacationing, they think they're safe because they're in a lake, and then they start getting attacked by sharks. And then as we find out, they're being attacked because people are putting the sharks in this lake. Now, as a kid, I grew up having, my parents had like a cottage we would go to on the weekends and whatnot. And especially after seeing Jaws, I'm always like, man, it'd be so scary if there was a shark in that lake right now. And sometimes I'd get in my own head about it while I'm swimming too.
Yeah. Even places that there are no sharks, I know that feeling. They used to have a big drawing of a whale or a dolphin on the bottom of the swimming pool when I was a child, and I was so scared of that drawing, even though because it wasn't an amazingly drawn dolphin or something. It was just a big blue shape with a tail, and oh my god, that thing scared me. I didn't do very well in swimming classes as a child because I didn't want to go underwater because I didn't want to go near that drawing.
I always had that in the back of my head. Like, I always went in the water, but I would always think, and like, you've seen so many memes on the internet, like my irrational childhood fear of like a shark being in the pool. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, Jaws did that to me as a kid. Like, I was terrified. I wasn't like terrified, but it was always in the back of my head as I'm swimming in lakes and whatnot. Like, what's under there? Like, what could be there?
It's like that shot from Creature from the Black Lagoon, isn't it? Where he's swimming underneath her and she doesn't know about it.
That is one of my absolute favorite monster movies of all time. It's my favorite Universal monster movie for sure, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Because like you said, especially that scene alone, for like 1954, that is like an incredibly effective and creepy scene.
Did you know that the creature design was done by a woman who then had the credit for this design stripped away from her because she was getting too popular?
That's right. I do remember seeing that. And like, that is just insane. And hey, guess what? Hollywood still has the same problems, everybody. So
She eventually had this credit restored to her, like much later on. But yeah, this guy threw an absolute hissy fit, refused to have her do this tour called The Beauty Who Created the Beast. So they changed it to The Beauty Who Lives with the Beast. And yeah, I basically I wrote the whole story down in my book because I just found that so fascinating. And I think she ended up being like the first female animator or something. She went and did something else eventually, but this whole creation of the creature was all out of her head.
yeah, and like that is so amazing. Like, and even again for like 1954, like that design is incredible. Like, you take that design and put it in a movie today, you make a couple of minor tweaks to it, maybe it's still good. Like, it's still effective, and I feel like I don't know, it feels like it's almost based off of like real sea life and whatnot, and actually combined with like a person. Like, I actually like believe this as like a missing link in society, at least like for my suspension of disbelief for a movie.
No, it does. It really does. Have you seen The Shape of Water?
Yes.
Yeah. Like the way he just updated that very slightly. He could have gone so many different ways. He could have made him more like a sexy merman and went, no, I want this woman to fall in love with an amphibious fish creature.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that movie actually. Like, and like you said, like somebody listening, falling in love with an amphibious fish creature sounds totally and absolutely insane. But when you watch the movie, I'm like, this again, Guillermo del Toro, like it just works. It shouldn't, but it does.
No, I absolutely love that. I've actually only seen it once. I need to watch it again because I'm sure there's stuff I've missed. But yeah, I remember I went to see it with one of my best friends. We went to the cinema and we came out and we just didn't really talk for like an hour because the two of us were just going over it in our head. And then finally, that's it. We sit down for coffee and that's it. We're both going, and then the thing, and then the thing. And then
Yeah.
did you see the bit? And then the bit when he did this. It's like, yeah. I love it when films make you do that. You just sit there and then suddenly it's like, so.
Yeah, and yeah, that I think I actually own it on Blu-ray, and I've only seen it once too. It's definitely one I need to rewatch. I also think it's one of those movies though too. I need to be like in the right mood to watch it. It's not just something I can necessarily throw on because it's not like a fun monster movie. It's like a very like heartfelt monster drama almost.
But I like that he gave them a happy ending. I appreciated that so much.
Yeah, and I think that's a movie that like the happy ending like really works for it because you're almost not expecting it to have a happy ending. So when it does, it's like, yeah, okay, this is nice actually. Thank you for not completely emotionally destroying me.
Yeah, exactly.
So this director for Shark Night 3D, David R. Ellis, he's also directed a couple of other horror movies, most notably Final Destination 2 and the fourth one, I think. It was whatever one didn't have a number on it was the other one that he directed. So it makes sense that like this movie was actually pretty effective because even those two Final Destinations are probably two of my favorites besides the original one. But especially like two, the kills in that movie especially resonate with me. So he definitely knew what he was doing when it came to like the kills in this movie and whatnot. And more specifically, one of the first characters, Malik, he gets his arm bitten off very early on in the movie. But like, I actually really cared about his character because he wasn't a dick.
Yeah.
He seemed like a good dude. And I'm like, I'm just so used to watching all these movies now where most of the characters are assholes, and so it's just like when they get hurt, I'm like, that's really cool. Um, but this one, I'm just like, that's cool, but like that sucks because he's awesome. And at one point in the movie, he even takes out a shark with a spear, which is incredible. Like he fights a hammerhead.
It's just such a dumb scene, but I love it. He gets his arm bitten off, and you think that's it. This guy's going to be taken out for the rest of the movie. He's just going to be flat on his back. No, he somehow makes this incredible recovery, strides out into the lake, missing an arm, blood gore dangling around. Oh, someone did dive in to retrieve the arm for some reason that apparently the shark didn't want, with this spear. To avenge the death of his girlfriend. And it's the kind of stupidity I want from a dumb shark movie. Like, if you're going to do something stupid like that, at least make it entertaining, make it fun. I want to see you do something stupid and fun.
Yeah, exactly. And there's too many low budget movies that take themselves a little too seriously. Where like some instances it works because it just ends up being so bad that it's just like, I don't even know how this was made, but I'm sort of glad it did get made. But then there's other ones where it's just, I don't care about the characters. I don't really care about what's going on. This movie managed to make me not only care about the characters, but I actually enjoyed the kills and actually felt something when some of the characters died. Not all of them, but like a good majority of them. I'm like, I'm having fun and I care at the same time. Like there's not a lot of movies in this genre that can actually do that besides like Jaws or Deep Blue Sea or Shallows.
I love The Shallows. Yeah, I appreciate seeing a woman in a horror movie act somewhat smart. That's not I think I've contrasted it at some point between Open Water, the one in the dark, Open Water 3, I think, where they're just doing stupid things, and I'm like, you know what? This woman, it might be unrealistic, but at least she's not acting like a complete douche.
Yeah, she's not a damsel in distress, which is like a nice change of pace. I haven't talked about the movie in full on the podcast, but I've mentioned it on like various other shows and whatnot. Like I'm a big fan of the movie, and I mean like some people, if you want to just watch Blake Lively in a bikini for 2 hours, I mean, just watch the movie then. Like you'll get something out of it at least. But no, like it's a good movie too. Like the isolation because she's trapped on like this tiny rock, and then like she just has like an injured seagull to talk to.
Steven, seagull.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that she can see she can see the shore. She's not just stranded with water all around her. Help and hope is and she can't get there. And
Yeah, like it almost makes it there's always this constant sense of like hope, but then it never comes for the longest time because there's just so much tension. But yeah, that's definitely another movie that does it really well. And also, again, one of those movies that would be sort of on another spectrum as Shark Night because it's still a big budget movie, but it's so different in the story and whatnot. But I don't know that I would say one is necessarily a better shark movie than the other because they're so different in the stories that they tell.
I think they're both really fun, but one's definitely way more towards the horror, whereas the other one is just you want something that's like, you don't know if Blake Lively's character is going to survive. Like there's shark movies where everybody dies, and there's that danger. Whereas in this one, most of them are probably going to die, and they're probably going to die stupidly, and it's probably going to be fairly fun. There's used to be a game we used to play called I think it was Film Frenzy. You watch a gangster movie, and anytime a trope comes, you play a card. And I think Shark Night 3D would be a perfect candidate for shark movie tropes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you could definitely turn this into a drinking game really easily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and even some of the ways that the characters die, a lot of the way they die isn't even through their own dumb decisions for the most part. Like a lot of them, like because I actually don't even know if I fully explained what happened. I think I got sidetracked. But basically, all these sharks are in the lake because these two rednecks and the local sheriff are putting sharks in the lake and attaching cameras to them and then trying to sell the footage to people who are obsessed with it. Number one, I believe this happening in the US. Two, I would be surprised if this isn't already happening somewhere in the US. Three, US. Like, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Like, it's so like America.
Well, the producers also made Hostel, which I actually haven't seen because I do not do like full-on torture porn. I can't just know. But I know what it's about, and it's about people that are paying to torture other people, and so I guess the same kinds of people would pay to watch people get eaten by sharks.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know it was the same producing team as Hostel, so that actually makes a lot of sense.
I mean, look at it when you see shark attack videos online, you know, when you see like millions, people go flocking, show me the uncensored version, show me what happens. And I guarantee you they'll all be watching that. If someone did that, they'd be watching.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, and one of the villains has shark's teeth.
Oh my god. Oh, so speaking of that guy, I'm pretty sure he played Josh in the Blair Witch Project.
No.
Yeah. I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's who it is because I have seen him in other movies and TV shows. He was in Bates Motel. Yeah, that's Josh from the Blair Witch Project, which I don't think a lot of people know, and I also didn't know when I first saw this movie. That's for sure.
All right, so I have a younger sister, and so there are a lot of like movies aimed at coming of age and little girls and mermaids and things in my household. The lead actress that plays Sarah plays a mermaid in a teen coming of age movie called Aquamarine. And I'm going, where do I know you from? Where do I know you from? And I'm one of those people that has to go on IMDb. I can't. I drive everyone mad. But one little glimpse of a face, it's like I won't rest until I know where I know them from. I know her from Aquamarine.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I do the same thing every time we're watching a movie. Like, oh, what do we know them from? And then we're like both looking it up. Oh, it's from this show or this movie. And then like we end up going on a tangent for like half an hour, and then we're like, wait, what just happened in this movie?
Yeah, that's me. That's me. Yeah.
And for all the other horror fans out there, she was also in The Innkeepers from 2011 by Ty West, which is I really like the movie. It's one of those slow burn horrors that Ty West does, but it's very good in my opinion. And she's also in the 2009 remake of The Last House on the Left, which a lot of people weren't a fan of. I enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of the original. Like, that's in one of my top 10 favorites. But I enjoyed the remake for what it was. The cast was incredible, actually. And Sarah Paxton, too, is actually a really good actor. And I don't think we see her in that much anymore. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't remember seeing her in a lot recently. And I think she's really good. I don't think I've seen a movie of her in it where I've not liked it.
I've not seen her in much. Yeah, I literally only knew her face. I think The Last House on the Left is ringing a bell, but that's not something I know what happens. I haven't watched it. I think I've probably seen the credit like trailers or something. But
yeah, I mean, I imagine if you're not a fan of like Hostel, Last House on the Left is not something I would recommend seeing.
Yeah, I know what happens.
She is working. She is doing stuff. It's just obviously stuff I'm not watching, which is fair. But no, good to see that some people are still working. I like when seeing like talented people are actually still working and whatnot, especially when you see them in these movies, because some of them, they get cast in these movies and then like we never see them again because the movie was like not well received, which is not their fault at all. I was going to say, I call that the Robert Pattinson effect, because Robert Pattinson is actually a very talented actor, but he gets shoehorned into being a shitty actor because he was in Twilight. Now, I'm going to tell everybody, I've read all 4 Twilight books. And the reason I read all 4 Twilight books, because back when the Twilight movies were coming out, I was working in a movie theater. I didn't work there for very long, but it was absolutely insane. For 2 weeks straight, I had teenagers coming in buying midnight screening tickets for Twilight, and there were so many bought, they had to open up a screening Thursday night to just try and make more ticket sales. And so I was like, I saw the previews, and then I finally saw the movie, and I'm like, this is so dumb. Everybody is awful in this movie. The actors, everything. And then a bunch of people are like, well, you haven't read the book, so you don't know what you're talking about. So I'm like, Okay, so I read all 4 of the books, which honestly, anybody listening, you could probably do in 2 afternoons. They're like double spaced, 18 size font, and like it's such an easy read. I honestly felt like I was reading a book for like a 5-year-old, like just the way some of the writing is. And I say that because when you see these characters on screen and the actors are portraying the characters exactly how they're written in the book. Just dull, lifeless, gray. Like, it is spot on how they're doing it. Now, I will say, if you like the books and you like the characters and all that, I think the movie does an absolutely fantastic job of showing exactly what it is. And then, like, even for the longest time, I wasn't a fan of Kristen Stewart, again, because of this movie, but then I saw her in other stuff, and I'm like, oh, she's actually really good. I just don't like Twilight.
She was really good playing Joan Jett. Really, really loved her in playing Joan Jett. I can't remember the name of the film now, but
I haven't seen that yet. I want to see that.
it was good. I thought it was really good anyway.
Nice. Yeah, I really want to see Love Lies Bleeding, too. That looks incredible.
Yes. Yeah, another one I've not seen. I'm kind of slightly behind on my film watching.
Yeah, I've been starting to catch up. Actually, speaking of movie monsters, last night I just watched Godzilla -1.
Oh, is it good?
It is probably the best Godzilla movie I have ever seen.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's very like character driven, but the monster, the effects, the story, like just everything about it. And again, it's one of those movies that actually doesn't have a huge budget, but when you see it, you could not tell by watching this movie that it did not have a massive budget, which just makes me more angry at Hollywood for not making better movies, because like it's clearly possible. Other countries are doing it all the time. And another movie, Monster, speaking of, I also just recently watched Infested, which is about killer spiders, which is a French movie.
I heard of that one.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I'm amazed there's not more spider type movies based on how terrified, I reckon other than snakes, like spiders are the land animal that most people freak out over. So yeah, they're underrepresented in horror.
Oh, absolutely. And this movie does a really good job of, if you're already scared of spiders, then like this will do it. I don't necessarily have like a fear of spiders. Now, I'm not a fan. I wouldn't go like picking up a black widow or a tarantula or anything, but like just any regular old spider, I'm like, okay, whatever. But like this movie, I was like gripping onto my pillow, being like, "What are you? No, get out of there! No, spiders! No!" Like I'm just yelling at the screen because I'm so like it's like I can feel the spiders on me. You know, when you're watching a movie about bugs or something, and you can feel them on your skin.
Yeah.
That movie did this for me.
Interesting, because I happen to like spiders. I really like tarantulas. I think they're cute and fuzzy and strokable. But also, again, like with the whole living on a boat thing, you have to kind of be okay with spiders because of living on the water. Then you've got a fair amount of things like flies and little midges. So I've got a 3 spider rule. 3 of them are allowed on board at any given time, any more, and some of them have to be evacuated to the jetty. But if they're doing their job and they're catching my flies, then you know what, they cope with me and I take care of them, and we're okay. We're good. We're cool.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean they're definitely an important part of the ecosystem. There's no denying that. So we definitely shouldn't be killing all of them.
Yeah, it is interesting about the psychology. Like, I understand the psychology behind fear of sharks, but I don't understand fear of spiders quite as much, because there's so many other like beetles and bugs and little things that creep. And for anyone that's listening on the podcast, I'm doing weird hand movements to try and explain. It's not really working.
But yeah, I think I know for me, I hate like centipedes and millipedes.
Yeah.
And I think it's just I think it's the legs. I think when something has too many legs for me, that's where I check out. I'm like, that's too many. If you have more than 6 legs, that's too many legs for me. I'm like, okay, 8, like couple of spider species, I'm cool with. That's fine. Anything more than that, and we are going to have a problem.
Yeah, maybe just my leg threshold, my leg tolerance ratio is a little higher. Like 8 legs are fine, but 100 legs are a fuck off, or a world of fuck off. And don't get me started on millipedes. I can't do millipedes.
No, they're so gross. Doesn't matter what species of millipede or centipede it is, it's all disgusting. Even a human centipede, also disgusting.
Ah, so wrong. Why am I not surprised it's been done? It's so wrong.
Yeah, not only has it been done, they made 3 movies out of it.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
And I can't get paid to do anything. What is wrong with the world here? Come on.
It's not just that someone made it, a whole team had to be okay with this. Like, a whole team had to greenlight this.
A whole team greenlit it. Somebody wrote it. I also think the same thing, and I won't talk too much about this movie because I try to purge it from my memory as much as I can, but a Serbian film. It's the same thing. I'm like, I see so many people praising this movie online, and I'm just like, I don't get it. It looks really good, which is part of what bothers me about the movie is the cinematography is gorgeous. It is so well filmed, which I think also just helps make it feel even that much more uncomfortable. Anybody listening, don't watch that movie. Like, don't be like, oh, I'm curious. Just don't. Stay away from it. It is not the type of movie monster that you want to see, and definitely not the type we like talking about.
I don't get, like, I've not seen it. I know what it's about. I've read the Wikipedia page. Like, if I don't want to see something, I'll just read the Wikipedia page and then decide. So then I don't get spoilers. But like, there's so many horror films that can be genuinely beautiful. Like I'm a big fan of the Hannibal TV series because I think the way it's done is stunning. And one of my favorite films is Annihilation, which is just horror and sci-fi and drama, but the way it's filmed is visually, like, I'm actually awaiting a series of little prints of screenshots so that I can hang them up in my room because the way that it's done is just so, like, rainbow colored. Yeah, like, but nah, Serbian film, not endorse. We do not endorse. We'll take our chum. I'll take my chum elsewhere.
I do have Annihilation on
Yes!
4K because again, the cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm like, I need to see this in like the best quality that I possibly can because it's so good.
I watched it on the big screen at a friend's house, but the first time I watched it was I was staying in a hostel under a blanket on a bunk bed, and I kept jumping every time there was, even when there wasn't, because there's not many jump scares, but even when like there was about to be a good jump scare, I jumped just in case, and I don't know what like my bunkmate thought I was doing because I'm under this thing with my headphones and the bed keeps going.
Yeah, it's so good. And like speaking of like weird creatures, like that bear that they find. Yeah.
The bear will stick in my mind forever.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of good like little creatures in that movie, which is really cool. I think that's one of the reasons I enjoyed it, just because it's just weird. Like I don't necessarily understand everything that's happening in the movie, maybe not even the ending per se, but like everything else that happens along the way is just so weird and enjoyable. It just makes the whole movie for me.
I read the book afterwards because I wanted to see like if that was any good, and it's different, like very, very different. The characters don't have names, but it's heavily implied that the characters that are disappearing overnight and like the men that disappeared before them became these animals. And I don't know, I feel like the film took it in a different direction and I appreciated that, but there's definitely a scene in the book where Natalie Portman's character, I think, is looking over the side of a boat, and what she sees is this dolphin with the same eyes as someone that she knows. And it's just, the way it's written is just skin crawling, but somehow weirdly spiritual. I can't explain it. Sorry. I don't have the words. But
No, that was scared the shit out of me. And also, I really would have liked to have seen that aspect explored in the movie a bit more. Maybe they hinted at it, but like that would have been incredible and also very disturbing.
yeah, I know they like I know they hinted at it when one of the women, because that's for me that was the most haunting scene, when one particular character decides she's just going to give in almost and harmonize with the world, and she becomes a part of it, and you don't ever quite see how it happens, but to me that's the one that's still just, that's the one that like keeps me up at night. But there's, yeah, it's heavily implied that other ones sort of become these creatures, these strange looking creatures that live in the world. And I don't know, maybe it would be nice to be a happy little mutated creature living in a rainbow tinted world. If that's the way it's going, okay.
It looked kind of cool. I mean, it didn't look that bad. I'm like, hey, if I don't have to worry about having a job anymore, turn me into a mutated bear, man. Come on, let's go. I mean, in today's world, it's looking like the better of two options right now.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that.
Yeah. Are there any other like movie monsters you talk about in your book that maybe a lot of mainstream audiences don't really know about?
Yes. Oh my God. Okay, so oh, I don't think I've even said the title. Okay, so my book is called Movie Monsters of the Deep, and it goes right from the start of like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, early cinema, how they created worlds underwater, right through to the most recent things coming out like Alphas and Meg 2 The Trench. So right through, running the gamut from way back then to now, with a lot of psychology, because I'm a massive psychology nerd, about why we're so afraid of these things, how did they create the monsters, and what are coming trends that I think we're going to see a lot of in the future. But I also talk about creatures that haven't had their moments in monster movies. And I think that the leopard seal has not had its moment. And they terrify the living daylights out of me. So, seals, cute, cuddly, round little things. No. Google an image of a leopard seal if you haven't already. Those things are red-eyed, human-sized, twice as big. They have teeth bigger than a great white shark. Why? Why has no one made killer leopard seal?
Oh my
Are
God.
you Googling it? Yeah, that's the face.
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah.
This here is the face of someone who's Googled leopard seal.
Yeah.
This is the
Like,
face.
good God. Yeah, those. Okay. Yeah, those are scary. Oh yeah, they look like they're all cute, and then they open their mouth up, and it's like just pure nightmare fuel.
Yeah. So weirdly, they have appeared as villains in kids' movies. At least 3 kids' movies have had a leopard seal, even a jump scare involving oh my God, I think it's a seal carcass. I might be wrong. Or it might be, no, I can't, or a whale carcass. I can't remember, but there's a jump scare in a film. I think it might be 8 Below. I can't remember this. There's 3 films that feature leopard seals as villains. And these dogs are trying to get to the carcass of something, and there's a jump scare, and this just lurches out of the screen at them. And it's an animatronic,
Jesus.
because you can actually see the animatronic. Like there's a video on YouTube, and I tell you what, you can't tell it apart. But they have killed humans. They have attacked people. The thought of being in the water with one of these things that twists and turns even more so than like a great white shark is just monstrous to me. Like, no offense to leopard seals, if any of you are watching, you know, I'm sure you stay in the water, I'll stay on land, we're going to get on just fine. But they give me the chills. They do.
Where are these things located?
New Zealand, and I cannot remember where else, but there is, again, it's viral video footage of someone on, I believe, a New Zealand dock who thinks he's going to go and touch the seal and doesn't realise what species it is, and the unholy noise it starts making. It's doing a getaway from me, but it's like a click and like a pulsating. It's like nothing I've ever heard, and it doesn't look real, but apparently it's been verified and it is. But yeah, if you're listening to this and you want to see something that you might not have heard of that's terrifying, leopard seal.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard of that before, and kind of don't want to go to New Zealand now.
And if you want an antidote, you can Google Weddell seal, because they're round and cute and squashy noses.
Oh yeah, those ones I like. Those ones are cute. Yeah.
You want to
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. That like there is so much ripe material because like you said, it looks like a cute little thing and then you get close to it and it's not. I'm like, but yeah, no, it's such prime material for a horror movie because like you said, it looks cute, you go up to it, it's fucking terrifying and it can attack you. Like I think that there's so much ripe material for a good horror movie there, or even like a B horror movie, which I would 100% watch, obviously.
There's I because apparently I'm a massive masochist, I Google thalassophobia a fair amount, which is the fear of deep water and things under the water. So I Google image search it because I'm a sucker for punishment, apparently. And there's a particular picture of you look into the water and it is a leopard seal, but it's under the water and it's just looking up at you. And I think it's a nighttime shot and it's these glowing eyes and you just think, you expect it from a shark. You expect that. You expect it from an alligator, but there's something about a seal doing it. You just think, I don't like it.
Oh yeah, that is so creepy. So not only do we have to fear scary-looking monsters in the sea, but even the cute ones, we should be. And I think also with more recent information about dolphins coming out, we already know that we should be a little bit more leery of the cute sea creatures.
Well, even the gorgeous sea pandas that are orcas are doing some insane things at the moment. So we now know that great white sharks actually have a predator, and it's orcas. And it's actually something I'm writing about at the moment. So I've got a load of articles due in various publications and things. And what I'm researching right now is the battle between great white sharks and orcas, because there's a film called Alphas that they've teased for way too long, and it hasn't yet come out, but it's supposed to be filming this year. So I'm looking into the background of that at the moment, and you just think, yeah.
Oh no, I was just saying like it's crazy that like a great white has an enemy because like we've been taught like for so long that they're like the predator, they're like the king of the sea, and like now it's like well they're kind of not.
No, they so if anyone doesn't know what's going on at the moment between the orcas and great white sharks, that recently an orca took down a great white for the first time alone. So they've been killing them, eating their livers, which has more energy than whale blubber, and leaving them to wash up on the shore like some kind of sharkified Hannibal Lecter victim. And
I was just gonna say like that is some Hannibal Lecter sounding shit if I've ever heard it.
right, yeah. And it's like those things could tear you apart limb from limb, and they choose not to. In the wild, in SeaWorld, they do, but that's a whole other.
And I'm yeah, I think I mentioned on my Jaws 3D episode talking about SeaWorld, and I'm just like, yeah, they deserved it. So I mean, like anybody who's seen the documentary Blackfish, I think it's called, the SeaWorld documentary, yeah, you know. And even in Canada now, I think finally they just closed in Niagara Falls. There was our equivalent of a SeaWorld, which was called Marineland. And I think they finally just closed and got rid of all their like animal exhibits and whatnot because of like controversy for years. Same thing with SeaWorld, like exactly the same thing, mistreatment and not being run properly, not putting the proper money into it.
Yeah.
Like anybody listening, if you're trying to start a zoo or something, if you don't have money to do it, don't be the Tiger King.
Oh my god. So I mean, so talking to Tiger King, I did actually see something wonderful. So it must have been about a year ago, I was in the US and I went to a wonderful sanctuary that had actually taken on some of the tigers and creatures that had been mistreated by the Tiger King people. So this place is a sanctuary in the mountains. They basically have an entire mountain for these former pets. They can chill out, do whatever they want. There's no human contact unless they're going to the vet, and you have to have an appointment. You can't just come in droves to go and look around. There's set numbers of people that you can come in, and it's run by volunteers, and it's called Lions, Tigers and Bears, and it takes in these animals, and they don't do breeding programs. They don't have cubs and things, so you don't have that people wanting to come and see cuddly cubs. And for the first time, I was seeing animals that aren't pacing, animals that are just doing their thing, just hanging out, just chilling. And I thought, this is I'm okay with this. This is okay.
That's the way it should be done.
Yeah. Now, the thing about SeaWorld or places like that is, if anyone doesn't know orcas, different orcas from different places speak different languages. Literally, they have their own languages in their own pods. And what they're doing is essentially getting someone that only speaks Chinese, someone that only speaks English, someone that only speaks Icelandic, and locking them in a tiny room together for them to try and fight over space and scraps and food, and none of them can even understand each other and communicate. It's going to get violent. It's going to get messy. It's going to get there's going to be tension and hierarchies, and they can't understand each other. And they live with their families who are all supposed to speak together. And you just think, I know people talk about don't anthropomorphize. Oh my God, seriously, sorry. That's a word I said. I've got a weak R on a slight list. Sorry, that's a word I struggle with. But
it's a big word. I don't even want to say it.
But when you struggle with that, when you live in a society like that, how can you not? How can you not see them as sentient creatures that have a community? I think it's very arrogant of people to assume we're the only ones that have any kind of complex social bonds.
100%. And like one of the things that I try to talk about every once in a while on podcasts is like a lot of what we see in movies is not fact. It's not real. Like especially when it comes to like shark attacks and whatnot. Like, yeah, we should be scared of them because they are dangerous creatures. But like, so are lions, so are tigers. Like, you don't go into like a lion's den and then get upset when they attack you. Like if you're going in the deep water where you know there's sharks and whatnot, like if something happens, it happens. It's probably an accident, but like at the same time, you have to expect you're going into somebody else's domain. Like imagine somebody just like busted into your house right now. You wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, help yourself, fridge is over there. Like for creatures that really don't have any other understanding other than like this is where I live, like yeah, of course this shit's gonna happen. But like a lot of what we see in movies, like sharks don't just randomly attack for the most part. I'm sure there's cases that have happened, but not nearly as common as people seem to think that it is.
It's why I actually prefer the stupid films like Shark Night, because I think people try and like change the narrative by making a character a shark scientist or having some kind of character give this big exposition speech about how we're in the shark's territory, blah, blah, blah. We know that. But if you make a film really stupid, like completely and absolutely ridiculous, then it's I don't feel like it's the same thing. Like I prefer, okay, so make it so silly that no shark would actually ever behave like that. I mean, Shark Night 3D, the only sharks you're going to get in brackish water are actually bull sharks. None of the others are going to be in there. And the thought of just dropping sharks in to randomly attack people who we know they don't tend to like the taste of anyway, it's unrealistic to the point of being removed from inducing fear, if that makes any sense whatsoever, if that tangent just made any sense.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think like education is important on the matter too, right? So we know that like, okay, like this isn't something that's going to happen, like people dropping sharks into a lake. Now, people attaching cameras to sharks and filming the attacks, I can believe that happening. But the shark's just being dropped into a lake and actually being able to survive, because like you said, the bull shark is pretty much the only one that's going to accomplish that. So yeah, like the whole thing is so outlandish that like we can still get scared of seeing the shark in the water, but also with the understanding like it's not real, it's just a movie and it's just for fun. It's not a representation of like what they actually are, or at least I hope that's what some people understand, because if you don't, then like hopefully things like your book can help educate people on matters like that.
Most definitely, yeah. I've got a chapter about what the actual reality is in sharks. There is an awful film called Mako, The Jaws of Death, which marketed itself as being this sympathetic movie towards the perspective of the sharks, but the way it was filmed was so bad, so cruel. So many sharks were killed just for the purposes of the film. So I've tried to put a whole chapter in to address how the sea creatures I'm talking about really do behave, what is stranger than fiction, but what is completely and totally made up, to try and have this balance between these are the films we love, this is the reality of it. This is underrepresented, and this is what the people who were in the shark movies are doing now for conservation. Because it's fairly well known, but Peter Benchley, who wrote Jaws, just said, if I'd known then what sharks are really like, I'd never have written it.
Yeah, I definitely talked about that. I did a episode for Creature, which is a miniseries based off a book that he did called Great White, and it's basically about like a half man, half shark hybrid thing, but I could tell that the way it was written, at least the character in the show, was very much like a Peter Benchley character, where like he's trying so hard to conserve the sharks now, and like they make it very clear that like this isn't like typical shark behavior, like this is outlandish, like this is some other creature that is like beyond what a shark is. And I do like that he included that, and that's obviously, like you said, on the heels of Jaws, where people were going out and massacring sharks because of the movie, because again, a lack of understanding, lack of education and whatnot. So I do appreciate that in some of his later work he definitely tried to fix that. And like you said, him and his wife became like big conservationists, and advocated for like shark safety and all that stuff. So yeah, that was really great to see him do that.
So did the Taylors, who filmed a lot of the real shark footage that was included in Jaws. The two of them were specialist shark photographers and videographers, and they too went into shark conservation as well, which I really did appreciate.
Yeah, so I mean, like you can kind of look at Jaws as like a two-headed coin. So on one side, like yeah, there's like awful tragedy, all these sharks being killed, but then on the flip side, like we got these people out there educating more and more people on what sharks are actually like to hopefully curb and prevent things like this from happening again.
Yeah, I was actually really privileged to have a chat with the shark scientist Christopher Pepin Neff, who has coined the term the Jaws effect, and he wrote that he wrote all about the how people were affected so badly from this film. So I had a chat with him for my book. I wanted to know about what he felt in the matter, and it was fairly eye-opening to realize just how much of an impact the film had on perception and fear of sharks. And there really hasn't, I think, been anything like that since. Like, well, I mean, you've said the shark exploitation. Like, there's no lion exploitation or hippo exploitation, even though hippos kill more people per year.
Yeah, I remember I did a reel about that. I'm like, hey, fun fact, hippos kill more people than sharks every year, so sit on that.
Yeah. But I think vending machines do as well. People die in accidents with vending machines. And if they do kill a vending machine, I'll be the first in the cinema.
Most of people dying is like stupidity. It's just dumbness. Like you said, like the vending machine. Like people are dying by vending machines because they're being stupid. Like you don't just accidentally get killed by a vending machine. You were doing something dumb that got you killed by the vending machine. Like, I feel like that's also a case for a lot of animal attacks, too. Like, you got attacked because you were doing something stupid and you probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah, there's that meme of the buffalo with the guy's trousers hanging off the horn. Or is it a bison? Buffalo or bison. Large, shaggy animal, pair of jeans hanging off the right horn.
Yeah, like, I swear, that's what a lot of it is. But yeah, again, like, people need to know, like, what we see in movies and what they actually are different, although sometimes inspired. Like, they'll take certain facts about that and they'll incorporate it, and that's fine. But like, people do really need to realize, because I've seen so many clips. There's one especially where there's two divers, one's filming another diver, they're in really murky water, and then a great white comes up behind the other diver and like nudges his head, and then he just keeps swimming on. And people see that clip and they're like, oh my God, that dude almost died, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, if that shark wanted him dead, he would be dead. You know what I mean? Like, he nudged him in the head because he didn't know what it was. He's like, oh, I don't care. And then he moved on.
That clip does chill my blood. But yeah, it's
oh, 100%.
It's so true. It is true. Most of them don't mean you any harm at all.
Yeah, a lot of the cases, it's like mistaken identity for the most part, right? Like, they think you're a seal or something like those, and they're like, oh, yeah, I don't like this taste. Like, no.
Yeah, or you're near something and it's perceiving you as you're in its territory, like, go away, or bothering it. If you're shark bothering, then they're probably going to give you a nip. And it's the only way they've got that they can explain that you're upset and in their way.
Yeah, 100%. Like, they can't talk, so, like, what else are they gonna do?
There's a guy I follow on YouTube who's amazing at talking about this kind of thing. His name's, I think, Christian, but his channel is Shark Bites, Bytes, and he has a segment where he talks about viral videos of sharks and then talks scientifically about it. And he's fascinating. He's absolutely fascinating. He also sits there and watches shark movies. So from a perspective of someone that really knows what he's talking about, he's one of my favorites, because he'll go through a shark doing something or someone getting nibbled or nudged, and he'll go, look, this is what the shark's doing right here. This is the message. This is what this person's doing. Stop licking sharks.
Yeah, I like. There's really no other better way to say that. Like, just stop fucking around.
I think he puts it as "don't touch sharks," but like, yeah. Don't be a shark licker.
I can't think of a better way to end this episode on that note. That's so good. Why don't you tell the people a little bit more about your book, where they can find it, when it's coming out, and then a little bit about yourself and where they can find you and follow you and all that.
Sure. So my name is Faith Roswell. This is my emotional support shark onesie.
Nice.
So my name's Faith Roswell. I am a shark movie enthusiast, love sea monsters of all kinds. I wrote this book because I wanted to give people the same feeling that I got as a little kid walking into a bookstore and picking up everything they could possibly find on a particular subject. I wanted to tell you about things, shark movies, monsters that maybe you've never even heard of. I'm hoping you'll find something that's fascinating to tell your friends and go off on a tangent. So if you find any weird facts or anything you find interesting, please tell me, because I want to know what you've learned or what I've told you that you thought, I've never known that before. So that's about my book. It's Moving Monsters of the Deep. It's on Amazon for pre-order. It'll be out on this month, the 30th, and available in WH Smith in the UK. As for me, I'm on social media anywhere as Faith Roswell Official, and especially Instagram is probably the place you're going to find me. I also happen to be a Mad Max themed post-apocalyptic cage fighter, so if you like any of that stuff, then that's Faith Roswell Official on Instagram is where you're going to find me. And as I happen to also teach self-defense, but I teach psychological self-defense, which means spotting a problem before it actually happens. So the moment before you have to defend yourself. Are you being followed? Where's safe? How to travel solo? I also have an Instagram account called Armor for Life, which I neglected massively because I was writing a book about sea monsters. But I'll be back to very, very shortly as well. So if that's the kind of thing that you're interested in, then come and find me there as well. So that's a bit about who I am. And yeah, please, if anyone's got a better name than Bruce for this thing, then I'd greatly appreciate it.
I'm sure somebody can come up with something.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show. It was absolutely great talking with you. I learned a whole lot of stuff I didn't even know before, which is awesome. That's the type of shit that I like. Yeah, all those links are going to be down below for everybody. So for the book pre-order, when this episode comes out, it'll be the very beginning of June. So like the book is anybody listening right now, the book's out. Go buy it. The link will be down below, as well as all the places that you can follow Faith. Again, thank you so much for coming on to the show, and maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Thank you for having me. I'd absolutely love to.
All right, and you guys know that you can follow me on all of the social medias. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Slasher, all at Bucket of Chum Podcast. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Bucket of Chum, and I will see all of you beautiful faces for another episode of Bucket of Chum.